Okay. But they fear the whooping more than they fear your words, or more than they respect your words. It's not that they don't respect what you're saying, but the only thing they thinking about is the whooping. Now, that can be good and dangerous at the same time. Because what happens when they say, man, I'm going to just take the whooping today?
I don't think they ever think that.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. I'm going to do this. It's coming. Yeah. We
What
was terrified
happens?
of our grandfather. Yeah, one thing. Terrified of him. He walk in the room instant. One by one, all of us walk out. I go first. Right? We was terrified of him. You know what I'm saying? We still got in trouble. Still did something.
Yeah, but after, even at a certain point, like I was scared of that too, right? Then there was the aspect where I wasn't. Then as you get older, it's a different level because it's no longer about the fear. It's out of respect.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
That's why the fear is the
Beginning.
Exactly. Y'all stealing my thunder. I was about to go to that scripture.
Well, I can't hit that one already.
I mean,
I
yeah.
thought it was fair game.
But, like Doc was saying, the fear is the beginning of wisdom. What did we learn that the wisdom was? It was the law.
Yeah. Yep.
Right? So we understand that this is the beginning of it. Let's see how the fear is the beginning of it. Go to Exodus chapter 3. Exodus chapter 3 and verse 2. Exodus 3 and 2. Let's see how we can see the beginning. I mean, the fear is the beginning of wisdom. Fear of Elohim.
Shemot chapter 3 and verse 2. And the Malak of Yahuwah appeared unto him in a flame of fire out of the midst of the bush. And he looked, and behold, the bush burned with fire, and the bush was not consumed.
Did he know that this was Yah? Or did he know that this was the messenger of Elohim at the time? Keep reading.
And Moshe said, I will now turn aside and see this great sight, why the bush is not burnt.
So he's like, man, I gotta see this. Why the bush ain't burning up? Right? This is not him saying that, oh, this is the Father. This is, man, what's up with the bush? How is that even happening? Right? Read.
And when Yahuwah saw that, he turned aside to see. Elohim called unto him out of the midst of the bush, and said, Moshe, Moshe. And he said, Here am I.
So as soon as he got ready to turn and look at the bush, Elohim called him and said, hey, Moses, hey, Moshe. He's like, hey, here am I. What's up? Right? To get him away from looking at it. Right? Read.
And he said, Draw not near here. Put off your shoes from your feet. For the place whereon you stand is set apart ground.
The place where you standing is set apart ground. Take your shoes off. Don't come over here, right? Read.
Moreover, he said, I, the Elohim of your fathers, the Elohim of Abraham, the Elohim of Isaac, and the Elohim of Jacob. And Moshe hid his face, for he was afraid to look upon Elohim.
When he didn't know it was him, he was getting ready to look. But when he found out it was him, he turned his face because he was what? He was afraid. Did he have the commandments yet? Did he teach him the commandments yet? The beginning of wisdom is the what? Is the fear. Before he even got these commandments, he showed that he was afraid of them. Not I'm about to just challenge it and I'm about to look anyway. No. He turned. He was like, oh man, right? The beginning of wisdom is the fear, right? Read on. Actually, no, that's good on that. Get so from this, we see two things. One said, fear Elohim and keep his commandments. And right here we see that he was afraid before he got the commandments. Is that fear that he mentioned in Ecclesiastes 12 and 13 the same afraid as what Moses was right here? Does it mean to tremble, to be afraid? In that aspect of Ecclesiastes 12 and 13, does it mean to be afraid or to tremble? Or is it on the honor and the respect? Honor and respect? You sure? You gonna hold to that?
Oh, say that again.
No, Moses was afraid.
What's the question?
Yeah, no. Moses was afraid. I'm saying, is that same fear in Ecclesiastes 12 and 13 the same as how Moses was afraid here? Moses was afraid, literally. We see the turning afraid here. But is that Ecclesiastes 12 and 13 the same? It's the same word that they use in Hebrew, right? The same group of meaning. But is it the afraid, trembling afraid, or is it the honor and respect?
You said it's the same. It's the same word.
It's the same word. That same Strong's word was given for both.
The same Hebrew word.
Yeah.
The Yeri.
Yeah, right.
You say, is it the same?
No, I know the word is the same, but is the application the same in both instances?
It's the context.
Yeah.
Is fear, is that fear the same fear as here and afraid?
Yep. I say yes.
It's the same as Ecclesiastes 12 and 13.
No, I'm saying it's the action, is the afraid that Moses just displayed the same fear that's mentioned in Ecclesiastes 12 and 13?
Nope. I don't think
Okay, I'll give you another one.
I think so.
I'll give you another one. Get
No.
Get Deuteronomy 3 and 22.
No, it's not the same. No. It's the same root. Two completely different forms.
Get Deuteronomy 3 and 22. So in the aspect of the 12 and 13, when you look it up.
It's a call. It's a simple imperative. Imperative.
Actually, we can start at verse
You said
20.
it's a call, right?
It's a call, but to add to the way you just the imperative.
So which one is it out of the call? Out of the one?
What do it say in the call, John? In
It
the
say-
call, it still say that
It say to fear, to be afraid, to stand in awe, to be awed, to fear, reverence, honor, respect.
So this is what I'm saying. Like in that, we got to figure out which one it is. You get what I'm saying?
It's to fear, to be afraid.
So Moses or Ecclesiastes 12 and 13?
Moses is free to be afraid.
Moses is fear and be afraid.
I think Ecclesiastes 13
To be afraid.
is all of that.
be
To
reverent.
fear, to be afraid, to be in reverence, to honor. I think it's all of that.
Yeah, they different. They're definitely different.
Okay. Well, let's see this one. Genesis. Deuteronomy chapter 3 and verse 20.
Devarim chapter 3 and verse 20. Until Yahuwah have given rest unto your brethren, as well as unto you, and until they also possess the land which Yahuwah your Elohim have given them beyond Jordan, And then shall you return every man unto his possession, which I have given you. And I commanded Joshua at that time, saying, Your eyes have seen all that Yahuwah your Elohim have done unto these two kings. So shall Yahuwah do unto all the kingdoms where you pass.
Okay, so Joshua getting ready to go into the land, cross Jordan, and go in. He got to kick out everybody that's in the land for us to dwell in the land, right? So he said, you just seen what happened to these two kings. It's going to be the same thing that happened when you go in the land, right? What the next verse say?
And you shall not fear them, for Yahuwah your Elohim, he shall fight for you.
So is he saying that you shall not respect them? You shall not honor them? Or is he saying you shall not be afraid of them? You shall not be afraid of them. Right? Same word used. But you got to look at the meaning, the context in the scripture. Right? Right? So he said you shouldn't be afraid of them. You shouldn't tremble at them. Right? So my question is, serving Yahuwah, is it better for you to do it only because you are afraid and trembling, or because you honor and reverence him?
So what kind of fear are you saying that Moses had when
Moses
Yahuwah,
had the shaking, trembling.
when
Oh
Yahuwah
man!
spoke to him? He had the shaking, trembling fear.
When he figured out that this was Yahuwah, instead of looking like he was about to look at it, he turned because he was afraid. Right? He was afraid. Oh man!
Why was he afraid of Yahuwah? He respected him, right?
That wasn't why he didn't look at him.
I mean, I think.
He's scared to die. He'll die. You look at him.
But that's still a respect.
Exactly. He was afraid to get killed. Not more so of I'm not gonna look because that's hey man, that's you. But I'm afraid that I'm gonna die. If I die,
That's still.
if I look at him, I'm gonna die.
These things are already
That's
passed
still a level of
down.
respect.
So he already know if I look at him, I'm gonna die. So I almost did. That's
Right.
I almost just looked at him, and I just almost died. Oh my goodness!
It was more so of a fear. We're gonna see that Moses wasn't the same way after this. You know what I'm saying? After this occurrence, he didn't feel the same. He wasn't afraid to be in the presence of him no more. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna see it though. But at this point, it was afraid like, whoo, I could have died. That type of afraid. You know what I'm saying? Now, when he went up to the mountain of Elohim. He knew what mountain he was in. You know what I'm saying? He was going to look. He's like, oh, that's him.
Why was he afraid that he was going to die if he looked?
You can't look at it.
He knew.
You can't look at him and live.
If you see me,
When did he say that, though?
but it's already passed down. Remember, it's an oral law.
We'll get to it. But he was afraid. All right? We'll get to it, though. I got you. So, this right here in Deuteronomy 3:22, this was a don't be afraid. Right? Do we agree on that before we move forward?
Yeah, I know.
Okay. What say you, Mac?
I'm listening.
All right. Go to Genesis 32:11. Start at verse 10. Actually, nope, you can start at verse 11. Genesis 32:11.
Genesis 32:11.
This is Jacob.
Deliver me, I pray you, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau, for I fear him.
But he what?
I fear him.
Is it that he reverence him? Is he honor him? Or is he afraid that he gonna kill him? Keep reading.
Lest he will come and smite me, and the mother with the children.
So it's not you. That don't encompass all three. You get what I'm saying? On the other side of the token, it don't encompass. I'm afraid of them, and I respect them, and I honor them. That only encompasses, man, I'm afraid. You said the other two?
He crazy kill all of us. His nephews,
I'm still.
You don't think it's afraid?
No, I think it's afraid.
No, that's the whole thing. That's what I'm saying. That's the ones that we go into is showing that they're fearful, afraid.
So, how do you show fear that you just honor somebody?
How do you show fear that you honor somebody?
Go ahead.
It's just like you do with your parents. You ain't afraid of them no more. You ain't afraid that your daddy can whoop you or beat you up or something.
So that fear,
But you honor them.
that ain't the same as fear, though.
That's the thing.
That's what I'm saying.
Reverence.
It's the
Honor and fear don't necessarily go hand in hand. They go hand in hand in this definition of what they saying fear. But when you scared of somebody, you could be scared of somebody because of you respect them and what they might do to you.
This is what I'm saying.
That's a respect level
The
too.
definition of this don't match the word that it gives.
I can't say I don't agree.
So when he says to fear the Most High and keep His commandments, that don't match the idea of fear and trembling. We gonna see that. But right here, where you see that he was afraid that his brother was gonna kill him, same word. He was like this.
So that's the same fear that Moses had looking at the bush.
What's that?
What we see with Jacob and Esau.
Right, that's that fear.
But it's different than what we see in Ecclesiastes.
In Ecclesiastes 12 and 13.
Yeah, easy.
You know what I'm saying? We when we walk it up, we gonna see it. That it's two different fears, but because of the translation we looking at, they just giving you fear, and we think
It's
trembling. But if we serve the Most High only because we are afraid of what He would do to us, it's not gonna be well with us. You gonna see that, right?
I agree with that.
That's what we getting to.
No, I agree with that part.
Okay. Get Isaiah chapter 66. Verse 3.
Isaiah 66 and 3. He that kills an ox is as if he slew a man. He that sacrificed a lamb, as if he cut off a dog's neck. He that offers an oblation, as if he offers swine's blood. He that burns incense, as if he blessed an idol. Yea, they have chosen their own ways, and their soul delights in their abominations. I also will choose their delusion, and will bring their fears.
Their respect, their honor? No. He talking about they fear. They literal fear. Read.
Upon them. Because when I called, none did answer. And when I spake, they did not hear. But they did evil before my eyes, and chose that in which I delighted not.
So he said, because they do all of these things, I'm going to bring they fears on them. Not a reverence, a honor, or respect, but the fear that makes you afraid. Right? Now watch this. Get Isaiah 29:13. Watch this.
Isaiah chapter 29 and verse 13. Wherefore the master said, for as much as this people draw near me with their mouth, and with their lips do honor me.
With their what?
Their lips do honor me.
Their lips they honor me. Read on.
But have removed their heart far from me.
It's key when he said they removed their heart far from him. We're going to get to that though. Read on.
And their fear toward me is
what?
Their fear toward me is taught by the precept of men.
Now, hold on. Now he says their fear towards me is taught by the precept of men. What fear is that?
It's scary. It's scary.
Sure.
Yeah.
How can you teach somebody to be scared?
Start reading what they're going to do to you before falling to bed.
Y'all sure?
And the physical action behind it, yeah.
Are you positive?
He said, I didn't give you a spirit of fear. You got to be what it means. He didn't give you that one.
Are we supposed to get taught fear?
Not in that way.
Not in that right.
Not in that
Like
way.
Can you get taught fear?
Yeah.
How so?
Yeah. The baby's scared of the police, so he's like, oh, police. Police, they get
Yeah, we
wild.
taught them.
We taught 'em.
Well, we taught them how we act.
I'll give you an example. A clown.
Yeah.
Who taught your babies to be afraid of a clown with makeup in the nose?
Nobody
That's
taught
not taught.
That's the way it looks.
That's just what it.
No,
We had
that
a-
ain't true. I saw the movie It, and I wouldn't mess with it.
It's kids that didn't see it that was terrified.
Right, my son was.
Jamel.
We ain't taught, I just about said I ain't taught him nothing about being
That right?
petrified of it.
I give you another example. My daughter, Eden, yesterday, my brother sent me a visual on the game to where you can see these knights, right? And they fighting. And you know how they used to have those helmets, those different type of helmets on? Even though they was the good guys, they had these helmets, and it looked scary to a baby. She ran in the corner and started screaming and crying. I didn't teach her to be scared of that. It was just something that she was just scared. It's certain type of fear that you cannot teach. But he said right here that the fear towards me is taught by the precepts of men. So does that mean that a fear was supposed to be taught from the jump?
No, supposed to be taught fear.
No, the one that we supposed to have is supposed to be in us naturally.
I don't know.
I gotta admit, that's a good question though, right?
Yeah, I think it's supposed to be.
You cheating, man. We had this conversation later, man. That's not cheating. You gotta give it away. That wasn't cheating.
Thought the floor was open.
That wasn't cheating.
Yeah, open.
Yeah. Look, and then it's two different opens. Open, open.
Isn't it?
Open
See,
is
look.
wide. I thought it was wide
But
open.
isn't it like,
Right.
I mean,
He
in
playing
the beginning,
semantics.
it was like, it was oral.
It's supposed to be.
You know, it was passed down.
Right,
Before it was written down.
right.
Okay, so then in the future, it was written down. So the man who comes on writing it down after it's been passed down adds his own so-called MO to it. You know what
If
I mean?
he had his MO to it,
And then he teaches it to people who are supposed to be following his MO, and they pass it down. So it becomes like a, almost like, what is it called? Jews got.
like the Talmud, the mission and all that, right?
Same,
So
same kind
is are they teaching you to be afraid in a different type of way?
They teach you in a way in terms of using those scripts that way.
Well, let's see what we were supposed to get taught. Well, what would you guys say?
I mean, I'm glad you touched on it because in the New Testament it says God does not know the spirit of fear.
He didn't give you the spirit of fear, right?
That's a different fear.
But we gonna see.
That's a different fear, bro.
We gonna
That's a
see.
different word.
We're gonna see.
The spirit of man.
Get
That's a different word right there.
what's that?
In Isaiah 29.
What is it?
It's spelled different. It's H3373.
What is it?
I can't. Is YIR apostrophe AH.
What's the definition?
It says fear, terror, fear.
Mm-hmm.
What was the other one? 3372?
I think so, or 71. I think
So
this is
we
a different word.
So this is what we gonna see.
So 29 and what?
29:13. So this one says their fear towards me is taught by the precepts of men.
Because this one is a noun, the other one is a verb.
So we gonna see. Right?
So you playing semantics?
I'm not.
I'm gonna mess with you. I'm messing
Go to
with you.
Deuteronomy. What was that? I want everybody to understand before we move on. That's because what we're dealing with is words and definitions that's played games with in here. But we got to understand past this what the context of the scriptures is actually talking about, because the fear that we have for them, when you go to do something wrong, you think in yourself, man, I can get in trouble for this. I can get punished for this. I can. This is what you think. You don't think, man, I'm going against the Most High, man. You know what I'm saying? The personal, man, he told me not to do that, man. No, I'm not about to. No, I got love for the Most High like that. I'm not gonna do that. You think about the punishment before you even think about the Father. It's not the right way to think, because what happens, just like when a child, when you say, you know what, I'll take the punishment. I just got to do this. That's a human emotion. Fear carry you so long until you say, I'm not going to be afraid. That's the only difference. But reverence, honor, respect carry you a lot farther.
Absolutely.
Get Deuteronomy 4:10. Because he said that fear is taught by the precepts of men right here, right? Actually, start at verse 9.
Deuteronomy.
My bad.
Deuteronomy chapter 4 and verse 9. Only take heed to yourself and keep your soul diligently, lest you forget the things which your eyes have seen, and lest they depart from your heart all the days of your heart, all the days of your life.
Mm-hmm.
But teach them.
But do what?
But teach them,
Mm-hmm.
your sons and your sons' sons, all the days that they shall live upon the earth, that they may teach their children.
So he says that they're going to teach their children what? What is it that they teaching them? Read verse 8.
Verse 8. And what nation is there so great that has statutes and judgments so righteous as all this law?
This is what we're supposed to be teaching our sons and our sons' sons and all these things, right? Mm-hmm. Jump over to Deuteronomy 17:19.
Deuteronomy chapter 17 and verse 19. And it shall be with him, and he shall read therein all the days of his life, that he may learn to fear Yahuwah his Elohim.
He said that you may learn to fear, right? Now this is dealing with the king. We're going to come back here. Go to Deuteronomy chapter 31 and 12. He said that he may learn to fear Yahuwah, right? Now, do you got to learn to be afraid of the Most High? Do you got to learn to be scared?
Moses didn't learn.
He did learn.
Oh, he didn't. As soon as
He learned that if you look at him, he had to know. Like, other than that, if that wasn't learned, he wouldn't even react like that.
We're gonna see example of the two. I got you. Deuteronomy 31:12.
Deuteronomy 31 and 12. Gather the people together.
Hold on. Do what now?
Gather the people together.
Read verse 11 first.
Verse 11. When all Israel is come to appear before Yahuwah your Elohim in the in the place which he shall choose, you shall read this law before all Israel in their hearing.
You got to read the law, right? Read.
Gather the people together, men and women and children, and your stranger that is within your gates, that they may hear and that they may learn.
That means somebody teaching, right? Hear and learn what?
And fear Yahuwah your Elohim, and observe to do all the words of this law.
So when he telling them to teach the fear of Yahuwah, is that teach them to be afraid?
Teach them the law.
What is that teaching them to do?
The law.
But what is the law teaching them to do?
Obey.
To respect Yahuwah. To honor Yahuwah. To reverence Yahuwah. This is what the law teaches you. Right? But what happens when men get in there and they start teaching their own thing? What they going to teach you? They're going to teach you to be afraid according to them. He didn't never tell you to be afraid of him while keeping it. He taught you to, if you revere or reverence him, you going to keep his commandments. Get Exodus chapter 20, verse 19. Verse 18. This is when he got done giving the commandments on the mountain. All right? Exodus 20 and 18.
Shemot 20 and 18.
Now, this whole time, Moses been dealing with the Most High by himself. People been around it, you know what I'm saying? But even when we had the whole thing with Shabbat, they didn't really reverence the Most High with his commandment. You get what I'm saying? They didn't reverence the Most High's commandment to go out and to not go out on the Shabbat. They didn't reverence it because they went out there and did it anyway. When they had to put the blood on the doorpost, they didn't reverence him because he was saying it. They were afraid that they might die if they didn't. You get this? You get what I'm saying? It wasn't that they respected him. They just didn't want to die. But that's not a bad thing because the fear came first. It makes sense? Exodus 20 and 18.
Shemot chapter 20 and verse 18. And all the people saw the thunderings and the lightnings and the noise of the trumpet and the mountain smoking. And when the people saw it, they removed and stood afar off.
When they saw all that, they got up out of there. Whoa. Read.
And they said unto Moses, Speak you with us, and we will hear. But let not Elohim speak with us, lest we die.
Did the Most High tell you if I talk to you, you're going to die? They was afraid. Who taught them that? Nobody. They did this all together. Ain't nobody tell them, hey, the Most High talk to you, he going to kill you now.
Tell you why they was afraid.
Thundering.
Right. And all the noise.
That's what made them afraid. Was Moses afraid? No.
In real time, if that loud thunder come in right now, boom! Everybody do that and turn them TVs and lights and stuff off. Right? They don't say nothing. They don't say nothing about that in here.
It don't say that that's a bad thing. It don't say that.
No, I got you.
But
it's
they were afraid. They were, oh, snap. Right? No, look, man. We don't need to talk to them. You deal with them. It's no different than, let's just say you got a dude that's with you and he's 6'5", he's muscular in middle school. It's your homeboy, right? Now he come around and he talking. And everybody looking at him like, hey man, that's your homeboy? Automatically they're afraid. He might be the biggest, softest gump in the world. But because they were afraid of him, they like, look man, I ain't got no issues with you, bro. You know what I'm saying? You do your thing, you know, right?
Like
but they were afraid. Right, like Goliath.
Like Goliath.
Everybody was afraid of Goliath. You know what I'm saying? And David didn't fear him because of who he reverenced. Right? This uncircumcised man, right?
Dog.
Talking to him crazy in his face, man. What's this doing?
Stop this fuckhead.
But because of who he reverenced, he wasn't afraid. This is the difference. If you fear what the Most High gonna do to you, cool. That's not gonna get you salvation. Because what happens when you not afraid no more? How many of y'all done seen somebody die because they didn't keep the commandments on the spot? I mean, in retrospect, we talking scripture. But I mean, I know you, my man was selling the pack. Somebody came up and blew his head off. I mean, that's different. You know what I'm saying? But in looking at the scriptures, we haven't seen that yet. Even you committing sin yourself, you ain't fell down and died because you're here.
I saw it in the one he took the bread from the people.
Mama, I said seen you. All right. Right now.
You said no, no, what you said was right, because it's that same word used for reverence.
Right.
But it's
now,
the
the
other definition with the honor and the respect.
Right. Now, the thing is, get Genesis 1. I mean, Genesis 3. Genesis 3 and 1. So, in the book of Genesis, we got all the creation. We got Adam and Eve that came into the world. Right? Boom. He told them, be fruitful and multiply. Don't eat from that tree. Commandments. Did they reverence the commandments?
No, they didn't.
Did they reverence the Most High?
No.
Like we went through, like the Ark went through. Adam ain't see nothing. I mean, yeah, you told me not to eat from there. You know what I'm saying? But do that mean he reverenced the Most High himself to keep the commandment? Eve herself, did she reverence the Most High to keep His commandment?
I think so.
You think so?
I think Adam did.
With Balaam, when my man said, I'll give you everything, all you got to do is curse this people. What Balaam said?
You could fill my house up with this stuff. I can't do it.
I can't go past his word. Even when Eve brought it to him, he could have been like, man, you might be the finest thing I ever seen walking around the garden. But you on your own. He could have.
He did not get evil then, so he was like.
But he knew what to do and what not to do.
No,
He knew right from wrong.
He didn't honor it because he did it and he knew.
He didn't honor him. What did they honor at the time? Or what were they, what was the, how did I say this?
You want to be God.
No. That's not what I'm asking. What was it that made them not eat from the tree for so long? No. Couldn't have been.
What?
Fear. Fear of what?
Fear that they would die.
Fear of death. When the serpent came, go ahead, read that. Genesis 3 and 1.
I don't agree with Adam. Adam didn't think that. Eve thought that because he told Eve that. She didn't tell Adam, now you're not going to die. She just Adam didn't hear that part.
But Adam knew the part. He knew
He
that
heard that part?
because the Most High told him directly.
Yeah, but you talking about
No,
you
he
talking
told
about
him
from
not
the
die.
serpent, right?
Yeah, I'm saying from the serpent.
Adam was
He just
there.
told Eve.
Adam was there. When the serpent was talking to Eve, Adam was present.
Yeah, he was a little punk. He
Yeah,
was
show me
that.
that one.
I showed it to you.
It's in the proof. You can see it.
In the text.
You can see it in the text. But read that. Genesis 3 and 1.
He was a punk.
He was intrigued too. He was intrigued too.
Genesis chapter 3 and verse 1.
Let a snake tell me.
Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which Yahuwah Elohim had made. And he said unto the woman, Yea, hath Elohim said, You shall not eat of every tree in the garden?
Mm-hmm.
And the woman said unto the serpent, We may eat of the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, Elohim hath said, You shall not eat of it, neither shall you touch it, lest you die.
Stop. Her fear made her say, don't touch it. The fact that she added out of fear. No different than the Pharisees. The guard over the Torah. Okay, he said, don't do this. But in order for me not to do this, I'm going to not do this. You get what I'm saying? She added out of fear that if I touch it, I know I might eat it. All right? So when the Pharisee, what was one of the joints? Even when you look at Shabbat, right? We gonna blow the horns when the sun go down. Just so things don't happen when the sun come up. Right? They added this stuff in there. They made it burdensome. You get what I'm saying? So, because the Most High never told them don't touch it.
I think that's Adam told her that. That's what I think.
Think Adam told her?
Who else would have told her?
Even if he probably he ain't trust her. Don't touch it.
Adam was the one that added.
He gave the.
Yeah, you gotta show me like he was there.
But he gave the command, right? And he told him don't eat of it. Somehow it got to don't touch it, out of fear, right? Like I say, we see that with the Pharisees. When it comes to the commandments, they added not for it to be a bad thing. They added it out of fear, man. If we don't do it like this, then I know that we're going to get to doing it like we're going to break it.
And ultimately, that's what caused you to break it.
And that's what made you break it.
Because he already told you my law is
perfect.
Yeah.
You don't need nothing extra with it.
So think about it. When Adam told her, don't even touch it unless you die. When she touched it and didn't die,
that was her thought.
Oh, shoot, we could probably eat
We
it.
can eat.
Yeah, because I just touched it and nothing happened.
Right, because she didn't get the commandment.
But if Adam never would have added to it, she probably never would have ate it.
Oh, wow.
True indeed.
You know, so
True indeed.
that extra that they try to put on the word to try to protect it
It's going
is
to actually make
polluted.
you break it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because now what happened? What's the excuse for brews that work on Fridays? I can't get off on Friday night.
Let's just talk about the captivity one.
No, but they can't get off on Friday night, right? So if they break it in one aspect, what's going to stop them from, man, I can't keep it anyway.
True.
We can't keep that dang on Shabbat in captivity, right? The one loophole that was added made you swim through a whole bunch of other ones.
That's why you always say, speak my word.
My words, give my judgments. Because what he told us was, that's what it was, right? Now watch what happens. Read the next verse. Matter of fact, verse 4.
Verse 4. And the serpent said unto the woman, You shall not surely die, for Yahuwah doth know that in the day you eat thereof, then your eyes shall be opened, and you shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. And when the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes, and a tree to be desired, to make one wise, she took the fruit thereof.
Like B said, she took it. I ain't did that. And then what happened?
And did eat, and gave also to her husband, and he did eat. And the eyes of them both were open.
Sort of like Balaam, right? Now your eyes is open. Oh, man. Right? Read.
And they knew they were naked. And they sewed fig leaves together and made themselves aprons. And they heard the voice of Yahuwah Elohim walking in the garden in the cool of the day.
Now, this don't seem like this was out of the ordinary for him to be in the garden. Right? This wasn't out of the ordinary. But on this particular day, what did they do?
And Adam and his wife hid themselves.
They did what?
Hid themselves.
So they hid themselves out of what? Out of fear. Not because they reverenced them that they did. They hid themselves because they were scared. He gonna kill me. It's a difference between fearing the Most High and saying this is how I'm gonna keep the commandments because I'm afraid that he gonna kill me, and keeping the commandments because you reverence him. It's a difference. I gave the analogy earlier. If you got a police officer, a rogue police officer, racist cop, right? He come up to your car, and you know this dude is known for putting hands on people. He might kill you and take you to jail, right? Yeah. Right. Or kill or right. So he kill you and then he die with you and go and take. No. So he might kill you or take you to jail, right? Your fear of not going to jail or your fear of not getting killed is going to make you be silent. I'm not gonna say nothing. I'm gonna just take the ticket. It is what it is. Right? Yep. Right. Now you got an officer that's a community police officer. He help everybody in the community. You know what I'm saying? He show everybody love. He don't do none of the reckless stuff. He police how police are supposed to police. You get what I'm saying? Everybody know his name. He know everybody's name. When he come up to your car, it's not I'm afraid of this guy. It's, man, I respect this dude, so I'm not going to pop off at him. Right? See the difference? You're still not going to pop off on either one. But one is because you respect him enough to hear what he's saying. Man, you really did that or whatever. The other one, you're afraid of. What happens on that day that you get pulled over by that racist cop and you're like, I'm so tired of this. And you pop off. Your fear didn't last as long as that reverence would last to that other cop. Does that make sense? It's the same thing with the Most High. Yes, he holds your life in his hands. Yes, he holds your soul in his hand. But if you're only afraid of getting killed, if you're only afraid of not making it to the kingdom, what happens on the day that you say, screw that, I ain't worried about that. All right? Get Deuteronomy chapter 6, verse 4.
Devarim chapter 6 and verse 4. Shema Yisrael, Yahuwah Eloheinu, Yahuwah Echad.
Sound familiar, huh? Go ahead.
And you shall love.
You shall what?
And you shall love Yahuwah your Elohim with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your might.
Here it goes, right here. I was looking for it. Read on.
And these words which I command you this day.
What are the words that he commanded them that day? The commandments, right? These words that I command you this day shall be what?
Shall be in your heart.
He told them that the words that I command you is going to be where?
In your heart.
Oh, is your mind? We'll get to it. Good grief. So he said, these words that I command you is going to be in your heart, right? Read on.
And you shall teach them diligently unto your children.
These words is going to be in your heart. You're going to teach them diligently to your children. Read on.
And shall talk of them when you sit in your house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up.
Do y'all understand why he even said this right here in verse 7? He said, teach them diligently unto your children. You shall talk of them when you sit in the house, and when you walk by the way, and when you lie down, and when you rise up. Do y'all understand why he said this like this? Huh? Yes, to keep them. Now, get Exodus chapter 24. 24:18. Actually, start at 17. Exodus 24:17.
Exodus chapter 24 and verse 17. And the sight of the esteem of Yahuwah was like devouring fire on the top of the mount in the eyes of the children of Israel. And Moses,
it says, in whose eyes?
In the eyes of the children of Israel.
Now, was the fire devouring? No, it didn't burn the bush. That said, in the eyes of Israel. That wasn't up there. He remember. He didn't. What was the word that he used? It wasn't a consuming fire. Keep reading though.
And Moses went into the midst of the cloud and got him up into the mount. And Moses was in the mount 40 days and 40 nights.
So when he rose up, guess what he was hearing? The commandments. When he laid down, guess what he was hearing? The commandments. When he was talking to him, guess what he was hearing? The commandments. All of 40 days, he got the whole law. Right? So when we read over here in Deuteronomy 6, he says, and you shall teach them diligently unto your children, and shall talk of them when you sit in the house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise up. It's the same thing that Moses went through. Right? Read on though.
And Yahuwah spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, that they bring me an offering of every man that gives it.
Go back to Deuteronomy chapter 6. 6 and verse 10. Start at verse 10.
Deuteronomy chapter 6 and verse 10. And it shall be, when Yahuwah your Elohim shall have brought you into the land which he sware unto your fathers, to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, to give you great and goodly cities, which you build not.
Which you what?
Which you build not.
Which you what?
Which you build not.
Mashiach told us what? In my Father's house are what?
Amen.
And I go to prepare them for you. And when I come back, I'm going to receive you to myself, right? Hold on to all this stuff. It's going to add up. Keep reading.
And houses full of all good things, which you filled is not. And wells digged, which you digs not. Vineyards and olive trees, which you planted not. When you shall have eaten and be full, then beware, lest you forget Yahuwah, which brought you forth out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage.
Verse 13.
You shall fear Yahuwah your Elohim and serve him, and shall swear by his name.
Is he telling you to be afraid of him or to honor him?
Honor.
He's teaching you to honor him, to respect him. Right? So, he says that in verse 6, and these words which I command you this day shall be in your heart. Go to 1 Kings chapter 11 and verse 1. You get Deuteronomy chapter 17 and verse 19. Actually start at verse 14. But you read 1 Kings 11 and 1 first. You're going to read 1 Kings 11 and 1 first, though. Remember, the commandments was given to you to be where?
In the heart.
In the heart. All right.
First King.
What distorted it? I just want to just get this point. It was distorted because his fear was taught by the what?
Precepts of man.
So the precepts of men is what made him not be where? In the heart. Because it was just based on the fear, the afraid, right? Based on what they was telling you. Okay. Do 1 Kings 11 and 1.
1 Kings chapter 11 and verse 1. But King Solomon loved many strange women, together with the daughter of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Zidonians, and Hittites, of the nations concerning which Yahuwah said unto the children of Israel, you shall not go in to them, neither shall they come in unto you. For surely they will turn away your heart after their Elohim, after their elves. Solomon clave unto these in love.
He claved unto these in what?
In love.
In love, right? Now, read what you got. Deuteronomy 17:14.
Deuteronomy 17:14. When you are come unto the land which Yahuwah your Elohim giveth you, and shall possess it, and shall dwell therein, and shall say, I will set a king over me, like as all the nations that are about me. You shall in any wise set him king over you, whom Yahuwah your Elohim shall choose. One from among your brethren shall thou set king over you. Thou mayest not set a stranger over you, which is not thy brother. But he shall not multiply horses to himself, nor cause the people to return to Egypt, to the end that he should multiply horses. For as much as Yahuwah hath said unto you, ye shall henceforth return no more that way.
Verse 17. Now again, us learning the law is actually learning to reverence and honor the Most High. Do we understand the importance of that? Because without it, all you gonna say is, man, if I do this, he might do this to me. If I do this, he might do that to me. It's not gonna get you over the edge. It's not gonna make you love the Most High. The fear won't make you love him. All right? It's just like we won't go into that. The fear won't make you love him. Plain and simple. You got to get to know him to honor him. His commandments is getting you to know him. Read what he say after that.
Verse 17. Neither shall he multiply wives to himself.
Now, this is Solomon just did this, right? This is talking about the king. Neither shall he multiply wives to himself. Read.
That his heart turn not away. Neither shall he greatly multiply to himself silver and gold.
Now, did Solomon multiply to himself silver and gold?
No.
No, who did it? Most High, right? But he multiplied to himself wives, right? Read.
And it shall be, when he sitteth upon the throne of his kingdom, that he shall write him a copy of this law in a book, out of that which before the priests, the Levites, and it shall be with him, and he shall read therein all the days of his life.
He's supposed to read it how many days? Read.
That he may learn to fear.
Is that learn to be afraid of him? No, right? Read.
To fear Yahuwah, his Elohim, to keep all the words of this law and these statutes to do them.
Keep going.
That his heart.
That is what?
That his heart.
Now again, here we go with this heart thing, right? Read.
be not lifted up above his brethren, and that he turn not aside from the commandments
To the what?
to the right hand or to the left, to the end that he may prolong his days in his kingdom, he and his children in the midst of Israel.
So he told him he got to go into this word and he got to read this every day in order for him to learn to fear Elohim, to reverence him, right? To honor him. Same thing with us. When you go without doing this stuff, the Most High's character ain't building up in you. His command that he wants you to do is not in you. So now you just doing it because you don't want to die. You doing it just to get to the kingdom. You doing it just not to be in the lake of fire, as opposed to doing it because I really, really honor and respect what you're saying. It's a difference. If you don't get the difference together, you're gonna be a goner. You know what I'm saying? Now watch this. Get Hebrews chapter 8, verse 8. Matter of fact, hold what you got. Don't get Hebrews 8 yet. Get 2 Kings chapter 17, verse 1. It's the last example, and then we're going to close out after that. 2 Kings chapter 17 and verse 1.
2 Kings chapter 17 and verse 1. In the 12th year of Ahaz, king of Judah, began Hoshea, the son of Alot, to reign in Samaria over Israel 9 years. And he did that which was evil in the sight of Yahuwah, but not as the kings of Israel that were before him. Against him came up Shalmaneser, king of Assyria, and Hoshea became his servant and gave him presents. And the king of Assyria found conspiracy in Hoshea, for he had sent messengers to sow king of Egypt.
He had sent messages to sow. That's a name.
Oh, okay. To sow king of Egypt, and brought. Messengers to sow king of Egypt, and brought no present to the king of Assyria, as he had done year by year. Therefore the king of Assyria shut him up and bound him in prison.
So he ain't bring him no gift, so he done locked him up. Read.
Then the king of Assyria came up throughout all the land and went up to Samaria and besieged it there. Besieged it 3 years. In the 9th year of Hoshea, the king of Assyria took Samaria and carried Israel away into Assyria, and placed him in Halah and in Habor, by the river of Gozan, and in the cities of the Medes. For it was so that the children of Israel had sinned against Yahuwah their Elohim, which had brought them up out of the land of Egypt from under the hand of Pharaoh, the king of Egypt.
Why did Israel keep sinning over and over and over and over again? Because they didn't learn to fear or reverence the Most High. That's the only way. They were afraid of what might happen to them, but they didn't respect the man himself. Right? Now watch this, man. Watch this. Keep reading that verse 7.
Verse 7. For it was so.
Matter of fact, verse 8.
Verse 8. And walked in the statutes of the heathen, whom Yahuwah cast out from before the children of Israel, and of the king of Israel, which they had made. And the children of Israel did secretly those things that were not right against Yahuwah their Elohim, and they built them high places in all their cities, from the tower of the watchman to the fenced city.
Verse 12.
Verse 12. For they served idols, whereof Yahuwah had said unto them, you shall not do this thing. Yet Yahuwah testified against Israel and against Judah by all the prophets and by all the seers, saying, turn you from your evil ways, and keep my commandments and my statutes according to all the law which I command your fathers, and which I sent to you by my servants the prophets. Notwithstanding, they would not hear, but hardened their necks like the neck of their fathers, that did not believe in Yahuwah their Elohim.
Now, when they say that they didn't believe, Quad went through this lesson too. Was it that they didn't think that he was real? It wasn't that. They ain't had no love for him at all, because they knew he was real. We're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that point in just a second too, y'all. Just hold on to the fact that when he gave the commandments, he told them that these commandments was for them to hear and be in their heart. The fear of him was taught by the precepts of men. I covered that pretty much with his last lesson. Keep going.
And they rejected his statutes and his covenant that he made with their fathers, and his testimonies which he testified against them.
They rejected the what now?
His testimonies.
And his covenant, right? Read.
And they followed vanity and became vain, and went after the heathen that were round about them, concerning whom Yahuwah had charged them that they should not do like them. And they left all the commandments of Yahuwah their Elohim,
because it wasn't in their heart. They heard of them, but they didn't lay it to their heart, right? They didn't learn the fear or the honor of Elohim, right? Oh man, this is gonna be so sweet. Verse 18.
Verse 18. Therefore Yahuwah was very angry with Israel, and removed them out of his sight. There was none left but the tribe of Judah only.
So this is when Israel got, put off, right? Go ahead.
Also Judah kept not the commandments of Yahuwah their Elohim, but walked in the statutes of Israel which they had made. And Yahuwah rejected all the seed of Israel, and afflicted them, and delivered them into the hand of spoilers, until he had cast them out of his sight. For he rent Israel from the house of David, and they made Jeroboam the son of Nebat king. And Jeroboam drave Israel from following Yahuwah, and made them sin a great sin.
Drop down to verse 24.
Verse 24. And the king of Assyria brought men from Babylon, and from Kutha, and from Avah, and from Hamath, and from Sepharvaim, and placed them in cities of Samaria instead of the children of Israel.
So we was removed from Israel, right? And the king of Assyria put these other people in our land instead of us, right? Now watch what happens. Read on.
And so it was, beginning of their dwelling there, that they feared not Yahuwah. Therefore Yahuwah sent lions among them.
What fear was this? Was this afraid, or was this the honor?
Because they didn't respect you.
They didn't respect him. They didn't honor him. They didn't do neither. They didn't do either. So he did what to them?
Sent lions among them, which slew some of them. Wherefore they spake to the king of Assyria, saying, the nations which thou hast removed and placed into the cities of Samaria know not the manner of the Elohim of the land.
They don't even know him. Like you just killed all these people, but they don't know. They don't know how you get down. They ain't here doing all type of stuff. They don't know how you get down. Read.
Therefore he has sent lions among them, and behold, they slay them, because they know not the manner of the Elohim of the land.
So what did the king of Assyria do?
Then the king of Assyria commanded, saying, carry there one of the Hohen, whom you brought from there, and let them go and dwell there, and let them teach them the manner of the Elohim of the land.
So the same thing the priest is supposed to be teaching us to do. He said, man, go grab one of them priests so they can teach them people down there what's going on, the manner of the Elohim of the land, so they don't keep getting mauled by lions, right? Read on.
Then one of the Kohen, whom they had carried away from Samaria, came and dwelt in Bethel.
And taught them what?
And taught them how they should fear Yahuwah.
They taught them how they should reverence the Most High. They didn't have to teach them to be afraid. They was already afraid. The lions did that, right? Watch the hypocrisy, though. Watch what it say. Verse 29.
Verse 29. Howbeit every nation made elves of their own.
So even though he teaching them, they done made gods of their own, all this different type of stuff, right? Read.
And put them in the houses of the high places, which the Samaritans had made. Every nation in their cities wherein they dwell. And the men of Babylon made Sukkot Benot.
Verse 32. So now even though they hearing it, they still not reverencing them because they still doing this stuff, right? Watch this. Verse 32.
Verse 32. So they feared Yahuwah and made unto themselves of the lowest of them Kohen of the high places, which sacrificed for them in the houses of the high places.
So did they fear Yahuwah as in reverence him? It says so they feared Yahuwah. Did they reverence him?
No.
What was the fear here?
And you might get killed.
They was afraid. So they like, look, man, go ahead and make him a priest. Right?
But the
lowest,
weakest,
the lowest
wackest person.
Right.
The lowest of the low, they was like, man, we gonna do the
Got a
bare
flat-
minimum.
A flat nose, the whole nine of the same.
Right.
Timmy with the gift leg.
They went and made the lowest of the low priests just to say we got priests. Just to say we sacrifice. That's the same thing the children of Israel do right now. We do the bare minimum because we like, this is enough not to get killed. Because your fear for them is only in you dying and not in your reverence.
And that's the second death.
Straight up. Read on.
They feared Yahuwah and served their own elves.
How do that even make sense? They didn't reverence him. They was afraid of him, but they said we're going to do what we want to do. Right? Go ahead.
After the manner of the nations, whom they carried away from thence. Unto this day they do after the former manners. They feared not Yahuwah, neither do they after their statutes, or after their ordinances, or after the law and commandment which Yahuwah commanded the children of Jacob, whom he named Israel.
Verse 37.
Verse 37. And the statutes and the ordinances and the law and the commandments which he wrote for you, you shall observe to do forevermore, and you shall not fear other elves.
Read.
And the covenant that I have made with you, you shall not forget, neither shall you fear other elves. But Yahuwah your Elohim you shall fear, and he shall deliver you out of the hand of all your enemies. Howbeit they did not listen, but they did after their former manner. So
they didn't listen to him, right? Even though he gave them the covenant, he said, take this stuff and I'm gonna make this stuff be in your heart. They didn't fear him at all. Right? Verse 41.
So these nations feared Yahuwah.
They were scared of him.
And served their graven images, both their children and their children's children, as did their fathers, so did they unto this day.
Unto today. Same thing. Ain't no different. Right? Now, you get Jeremiah 32 and 37, you get Hebrews 8 and 8. So, the covenant that he made with us, he told us to talk and teach these things to our children diligently, right? He said when we was getting taught these things, it was supposed to be in our heart. That's what he gave them to us for. He says that they'll be in your heart, right? And we were taught the precepts of men by these men telling us, well, you got to wash in this many pots. You got to make it like this. You got to do it like this. You got to do it like that, right? Okay. Just stay with me. We almost finished. All right. Jeremiah chapter 32 and verse 37.
Jeremiah chapter 32, verse 37. Behold, I will gather them out of all the countries whither I have driven them in mine anger.
This sounds like a future prophecy. Am I correct? Read.
And in my fury, and in great wrath, and I will bring them again unto this place, and I will cause them to dwell safely, and they shall be my people, and I will be their Elohim.
Go ahead.
And I will give them one heart.
I will do what?
Give them one heart.
The heart was always entangled in the commandments. He told you that you were supposed to learn this stuff to keep the commandments and to have it in your heart. Go ahead.
And one way, and that they may fear me.
That they may what?
Fear me.
Reverence him. Honor him. Finally. Right? Now this is when he's saying when you get to this particular point, when he bring everybody back, right? Read.
That they may fear me forever.
For who?
Forever.
Go ahead.
For the good of them and of their children after them. And I will make an everlasting covenant.
I will do what?
Make an everlasting covenant with them. That I will not turn away from them to do them good. But I will put my fear in their hearts.
He gonna do what?
Put my fear in their hearts.
Is he gonna put you being afraid in your heart? He gonna put his honor, his reverence in your heart, his self. Read.
That they shall not depart from me. Yea, I will rejoice over them to do them good, and I will plant them in this land assuredly with my whole heart and with my whole soul. For thus saith Yahuwah, like as I have brought all this great evil upon this people, so will I bring upon them all the good that I have promised them.
All right, that's good. Hebrews chapter 8 and verse 8.
Hebrews chapter 8 and verse 8. For finding fault with them, he said.
Finding fault with who?
With them.
The people. He found fault with the people. Get that Deuteronomy 6 and 6 again. He found fault with the people, right? Read.
For finding fault with them, he says, Behold, the days come, saith Yahuwah, so saith the Master, when I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand and led them out of the land of Egypt.
Why? What's the difference between that covenant and this covenant? What's the difference between the two covenants?
Sacrifices?
Nope, because it's still sacrifices. It's still sacrifices. This is how, when we break this stuff down, we say, well, there ain't going to be no more sacrificing. There ain't going to be no more of this. Ain't going to be no more. Yes, it's still sacrificing, but it's done through who? Mashiach. That was never gone. It was so that you won't do it. Right? So that's still here. What's the difference in the two covenants? Read Deuteronomy 6 and 6 again.
Deuteronomy 6 and 6. And these words which I command thee this day shall be in thine heart.
Read verse 5.
Verse 5. And you shall love Yahuwah, thy Elohim, with all thine heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might. And these words which I command thee this day shall be in thine heart.
How did they get in your heart? How was they supposed to get in your heart? They was taught by who?
Men.
By men was supposed to do it. Right?
This one, he go do it.
Exactly. This is the difference in the covenant. He said, when it come to him, to teaching, the men were supposed to teach you commandments so you would learn the Most High and learn to honor the Most High. But they added to it and distorted it. So now your fear or your reverence towards him wasn't the one that he wanted you to have, but it was the shaking, trembling that they gave you. Keep reading that. The Hebrews.
Because they continue not in my covenant, and I regarded them not, saith Yahuwah. For this is the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel after those days, saith Yahuwah. I will put my laws in their mind.
Who gonna do it?
Yahuwah.
He says, I'm gonna put them in your hearts and in your mind. It was the job of those that were teaching you to do it before. They messed up. They screwed up. He says, I'm gonna put them in your heart and in your mind. Read on.
I will put my laws in their mind and write them in their hearts, and I will be to them an Elohim, and they shall be my people. And they shall not teach every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, Know Yahuwah.
Because it ain't gonna be no more teaching. It's not gonna be for us to do it. We've shown that our people have distorted the word. I'm not going to give it to you to do it no more. I'm going to do it myself. This is how you're going to honor him, and you're going to honor him forever. This is how you're going to fear him forever, because this time he's going to teach it to you. Because right now, our minds are screwed up. We believe that we keeping the commandments. So, we keeping the commandments so that we won't die. We keeping the commandments so that we can one day make it into the kingdom. We keep all of these things are incentives to why you should keep the commandments. But the reason you should be doing it is because you honor and you fear the Most High. Period. Period. Finish that out.
And they shall not teach every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, Know you Yahuwah? For all shall know me, from the least to the greatest. For I will be merciful to their unrighteousness, and their sin and their iniquities will I remember no more.
So let's see that. Isaiah chapter 2 and verse 1. Remember, he said that he going to do it, right? In those days, he going to put it in your heart. He going to write it on your mind, right? Well, that means we got to see. If he said it over here in Hebrews, that means we got to see it back in the Tanakh.
Isaiah chapter 2 and verse 1. The word that Isaiah, the son of Amos, saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem.
So Judah and Jerusalem, that's Israel and Judah, right? He said he going to make a covenant in those days with them, right? Read.
And it shall come to pass in the last days.
In the what?
The last days.
So we know we ain't talking about something that already happened, right? Read.
That the mountain of Yahuwah's house shall be established in the top of the mountains.
Where did Moses go and get the commandments from first? In the mountain, right? Who gave them to him? Read.
And shall be exalted above the hills, and all the nations shall flow unto it. And many people shall go and say, Come ye, and let us go up to the mountain of Yahuwah.
The same thing Moses did. What might I be saying? Declaring the what? The end from the beginning. Read on.
To the house of from the house of Elohim of Jacob, and he will teach us all his ways.
Who gonna teach him?
He will teach us all his ways.
Because men couldn't do it. They distorted it. They messed it up. He gonna do it. He gonna write it on your heart. Read.
And we will walk in his paths, for out of Zion shall go forth the law.
This is what he coming to teach you. This is what he coming to bring you. His honor, his respect, his reverence. But this time, I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to write it on your heart. You're going to do this with me forever. But the only way you're going to make it there is if you already got this in you. That's the only way. You can't get to learning the actual reverence if you don't already reverence him now. Ain't going to never get there. John 14:15. We finish off with that.
Book of John, chapter 14 and verse 15. If you love me, keep my commandments.
Plain and simple. Plain and simple. Cut and dry. If you love him, keep his commandments. You can't get nobody to love you based solely off of fear. Don't work like that. Because at one point in time, the person is going to say, I don't care. You know what I'm saying? The Most High always give his people choice. From Jump Street, always give you choice. He's not going to make you love him. He's not going to make you honor him. He's going to give you the opportunity to do so. And if you don't, there's going to be consequences. If you do, he got mansions for you. If you do, you ain't going to die. You ain't going to receive the second death. But you got to reverence him and honor him first. Stop thinking. Stop thinking only about what could happen to me if I don't do this. That's not the right train of thought. Because with that thinking, you're going to fail. every time. Every time. Do it out of the love for him. Not because you don't work like that. We got to understand it?
Yeah.
We clear?
Yeah.
All right, with that, I say shalom.
Shalom.
Questions, comments?
I was just thinking about what you had said as far as the fear. A lot of us, when we come into the truth, the first thing we taught is fear. Like we're going to go to hell or this going to happen. And even when we bring people into the truth, we start them off with fear. So it's hard to shake that after a while and turn it into love.
Yeah. Because and the only thing is, like, people was asking, well, why, if when you bringing somebody into the truth, do you always talk about the law? Why do you talk about the law? Why do you tell them the law so much? Because this is how you gonna get them to reverence the Most High. That's what's supposed to get taught. Now, not, oh man, well, you do this and that's gonna happen. You do that and that's gonna happen. Maybe true, but they got a choice, just like you. It's one or the other. You're gonna keep His commandments. You're gonna read in His law. You're gonna study His law and actually reverence Him. Or you gonna tiptoe around it and say, "Oh man, I know the law." Because if I do this, we can get stoned for that. So I ain't gonna do that. Nah, it's not like that. He didn't give you the commandments because He hates you. He didn't give you the commandments because He didn't like you. He gave you the commandments to keep you. To keep you away from trouble, to keep you away from disease, to keep you away from all of these. This is what He gave them to you for you to have them on your heart, for us to live in perfect harmony. But when you take them and you don't hold it dear to your heart, you don't read them, you don't get into them, you don't get to know them, only thing you're going to be looking for is, man, I got to get to the kingdom, and I don't want to go to hell. It's not going to do it. Gotta love them, gotta honor them, gotta reverence them. That's it.
Let me ask you something. When He says, and Yahuwah says, let there be a firmament or something, or what do y'all picture in y'all mind happening? Anything in the beginning when He says, and Yahuwah made two great lights, any of this stuff, what do you picture in your mind happening?
I picture it just appeared.
It just appeared, right? That's what everybody do. But Mashiach actually did it.
He did it.
He didn't just say it and then it just popped up. He physically did this stuff. That's what everybody needs to know. He worked. So it's just like when you was little, when you found out that your daddy actually went to work and worked hard. You know what I'm saying? You got more respect for this. Dang, daddy was working for 14 hours and doing this stuff. He really got up and worked. You know what I'm saying? So when it says, and He said this, the voice is Mashiach. He really got up and did this. So when He says, I stretched out the heavens, it ain't just something magically happening. He actually get up there and did it. So this right here shows you more of why you should honor Him and respect Him. Because this stuff, it just didn't pop up out the ground.
Let's hear it from His mouth.
Just look at the way He made man. He formed Adam out of the dust of the ground. Formed him with His own hands.
Exactly.
So, you know what I mean? The whole thing is just the whole understanding of it. And the Most High, He stopped doing His work, right? He ceased from work at the end of these days. He was working. You know what I mean? And then the Shabbat literally means to cease from work, which means He actually had to be working rather than it just being a He spoke it and it happened. Like true. The Most High spoke it and it happened, but it didn't just appear. Like somebody did the work.
Exactly.
So when you read scriptures like the fear of the Most High is the beginning. It's just the beginning, like that. So when you bringing somebody in the truth, or when you first coming in the truth, because the first time I quote unquote decided to get saved and baptized when I was in the church, it was strictly out of fear. I was like, if I die, I'm going to hell. I was afraid. And so I decided, you know what? I'm going to get saved. I'm going to, get baptized and the whole 9 yards. But then after doing that, and you learn more, okay, well, what am I really involved in? And you start to read and you learn, and then it grows from just being, now I'm not really afraid no more. You know what I mean? Like you're saying, it's once you develop the reverence for the Most High, the same example that Quab gave for your father. You know what I mean? You afraid of the discipline that your father gonna give you if you act up. But at the same time, you respect his word and do what he asks you because of the position that he holds, because of the fact that he provide for you, he give to you. You know what I mean? All of these different things, like the best analogy is the parent-child analogy, right? Our children, they don't do what we ask them to do out of fear. They do at first when you do, but after a while they do it because they, it's your dad. That's, I respect him because at a certain point in time, like speaking personally, like at a certain point in time, it came to a point where my parents couldn't whoop me no more. You know what I mean? Like I used to toss my old man around for fun. Like he used to want to wrestle, I just toss him around just to let him know. You ain't got no way coming if it ever happened. But I would never. You know what I mean?
He was like, "Yep, I got to load that pistol."
Yeah, I would never. But it was out of respect for him. You know what I mean? Because I wasn't afraid no more. But I respected him, so I would never go there. You feel me? So it's the same thing. Like you develop that relationship. That's what to me. That's the point of developing a relationship with the Most High. That's the point of actually praying, of actually reading, of actually fasting. Like, that's relationship. You can't have a relationship with somebody that you don't spend no time with. You know what I'm saying? But they say a long-distance relationship don't work. It's the same thing. If your relationship with the Most High consists of I'm here once a week, what are you doing throughout? That's a long-distance relationship. Out of sight, out of mind, all these different little cliches that we use. Like, that stuff is real. And so now when it come down to it, and you got to make a decision based on do or don't do, you're going to lean more towards do because you don't have no relationship. You don't have no respect, no reverence for what the word actually say. So when morals come into question, they you thinking more from the flesh than because you don't have it. You know what I mean?
So, like, just something to take with you and think about. This is coming from himself. When I read this, just think about the emotion that he putting into these words right here. It's Deuteronomy 5:29. He says, "Oh, that there was such an heart in them, that they would fear me and keep my commandments always, that it might be well with them and with their children forever." He's saying this out of if it was just a heart in them, man.
Like frustration.
If it was just a heart in them that they would fear me or honor me and keep my commandments, I promise it'll be well with them and their kids. This is out of, like he said, out of frustration because he like, I do all of this stuff for y'all. I done pulled y'all out of situation after situation. I done spared y'all. And you still doing this? If it was just a heart in them to keep, man, that is deep.
Think about the parent with the knucklehead child. They got to constantly bail them out of jail. Got to constantly come to their aid. And it's a grown adult child. You got to constantly come to their rescue. And it's like, I know I taught you better than this. You know what? You know what I'm saying? What am I supposed to do? and then it's to the point where you just like, enough is enough, and you just, I'm done with it. I can't do it no more. You know what I mean? I tried, you know. So that's what it seemed like, that type of frustration. Like that right there to me, when Leah was like, when she had a son, like, oh, maybe now my husband would love me. You know what I'm saying? Like, just something. I need something. Like, I'm at the end of my rope. What am I going to do? So, but what you have to come?
That's okay.
You good?
But what I want you to, again, that's why I already knew that that's what's in the most of our minds when we think about the creation. Most of us really believe that the stuff, he said it, and trees just popped up off the ground. That nobody didn't plant it. You know what I'm saying? When he said that I did this and I built the sun and the moon, he actually created this stuff. He worked to do it.
He ain't boasting. He just telling you, this is what I went. Look, like, y'all realize what I did?
Right. The way that this whole system is working, the way that the water all intertwined and that waterfall fall down, I set that up to do that. It just didn't happen. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I be wanting people to really, really, when we reading this stuff, to like to get inside of it and see, like, wow, man, this is deep.
How you said, Genesis 2:8, and Yahuwah Elohim planted a garden.
Right.
Where they like,
he literally did that.
You know what I'm saying? Because we all automatically, the mind think the trees just came up. No, they didn't.
You can walk. Yeah, he actually did this stuff, man. And he actually got a love for Israel that we can't even imagine. Like he said, I didn't set my love on you because you was more than everybody. It wasn't because of that. I chose y'all to be separated unto me. And y'all do me like that. Oh.
And if you do it right, I already got the other place built up for you waiting on you.
Right.
I already done worked and did it for you. It's waiting on you. I already done put the work in. You ain't got to build nothing.
Right.
You ain't got to plant nothing. It's waiting on you.
Yeah, man. What?
Like a hope I can baby.
It's not even a hope. It's I know. It's a I know I'm gonna make it because I know that I got love for him. That, you know what I'm saying? Once you know that you got that love for him, and you know that you doing what he say do because he said it, like, man, like, wow, you did all of this for me. It's just like having a homeboy in the regular world that they done did all that they could for you. You know what I'm saying? When you was at your lowest point, when you didn't have it to get this and have it, and they was right there. How could you turn around and stab them in the back? You can't turn around and stab them unless you just a vile person. It's a lot out here. It's a lot out here. But that's what I'm saying. Like, how could you turn around and stab them in the back? Same thing with the Most High. He done did everything. Your body healed itself from being sick. He made your insides do what it's doing. I'll give Diamond as an example, right? Yeah, I know. Whatever. So, after our last child, right? She had y'all know she had the issue of blood for like irregular, like for a while. And we was like, what is going on? We trying to figure out what's happening. We kept going to the doctor. They didn't know what to do. So the last time we went, they said, well, we're going to put her on birth control to regulate her cycle. First thing I said was, man, I don't know about no birth control. Like, whatever happened, and it's the Most High doing it. You know what I'm saying? So we agreed, like, nah, we ain't going to do that. We're going to let the Most High do what he do. Lo and behold, everything back on track. Not because she wouldn't took birth control and they got it back. No, it's because he made the body and he said if it's going to do it, it's going to let it do what it's do. It's going to get back in line, but it got to go through this first. It got to go through a cleansing. It got to go through this. It got to go through that. And the lady said, the doctor even said, this may be normal, but we don't know because everybody that go through it, we give them birth control.
Wow. That man.
You just gave, what do you mean?
Wow.
I really don't know what I'm talking about or doing. But this is what we do.
Really, basically, this is normal.
This
We
is
do
normal.
a
It
lot.
gotta be normal because we do it a lot.
Yeah, it's happening. But
You know what I'm saying?
since we can't explain it, we just go
We just give them
try to
birth
stop.
control.
That works. So
The
just use
chemical,
that.
they gonna put a chemical in your body that's gonna try to balance you out that you gonna need for a long time.
Which give you a chemical imbalance in
Which
itself.
will give you an imbalance.
Like in the same time, like they say, it's a test. It's a test of your faith. You know what I'm saying? You go when you have these different issues and stuff like that, and you like, oh, well, I'm just gonna take the medicine. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, but you show, if y'all show faith in the Most High, like, nah, we just gonna trust in the Most High, and things, you know. So that's, I mean, that's awesome.
I don't talk y'all to death.
That's why every morning I get up at 4 a.m. and I read Genesis 1 and 2 every morning. I call, I said, just like he said, those are his words. So whatever, I call, I said.
It's me who did it. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. Oh, and we ain't gonna talk y'all to death. You know, we still got the video going.